Welcome back, community. So, as you can see from the thumbnail, this is an epilogue episode, and that is based off a live stream that we had, which happened to be on Record Store Day. That was on July 17th, and we did the live stream, and we did a topic where we chose our particular year, so everybody had a turn. So I went with 1996, for example. So these Saturday streams, as we've been doing them, we haven't really had a name for, the core group. So I kind of, just on a hunch, just went with Saturday Slay Crew. I don't know if we're going to stick with that or not. But, it just happened to be in my channel because I was dumb enough to pay the premium StreamYard subscription. So we can allow more people on board. But I would ask that subscribe to Brian Arkham, Jake Hims of My Wake, CJ Yacoub. I mean, we have all kinds of people on board, regulars, who, do these live streams. And we were looking to do something more structured. So I believe that this live stream that we just had was fairly successful. We had a lot of people tuning in, and I was very happy to know that people enjoyed it, and that we went a little more focused and centralized, even though we still tend to fool around. Can't be all too seriously, right? But it's a nice core mix of people. We have older people. I'm quite middle aged, and then we have people in their 20s, younger folk, early 30s, hopping in, and it makes for a nice variety. So I feel like when we chose our year, we had a nice range. So we had guys like Geoff, Metal Man is 66, who went with 1977, I believe, and all the way up to let's say 2018. So which was not that long ago, but hell, there was a lot of good releases that year. So in this epilogue episode, we are continuing from that stream, sort of a last hurrah, and to give you a little more. So 3 participators as far as this recording. So Jake at Hymns of My Wake uploaded his, so I'll leave a link to that video, and he will continue talking about 2018 releases that he did not get a chance to talk about in that live stream. Brian Arkham, also at his channel, will be posting. He hasn't yet, as of the recording of this video, but he is another participator who will be doing his year, which was 1990, I believe. So, really good year. And he will be showing releases that he didn't show in that live stream also. So, my 1996 year, why did I choose that? So, everybody had their particular reason why they chose their year for that live stream. And, it could have been, maybe a year I graduated high school. Maybe a year my first girlfriend dumped me. I don't know. Whatever it may be. So, in my case, it's just a nice turning point. This was right before I discovered Napster. I was still knee-deep in the trendy shit at the time. So, nu metal was still huge. Grunge, which basically the Seattle shit, or stuff in that ilk, was kind of on a downslope by that time. So I was looking to explore into other things. I was already dipping my toes into a lot of the more underground stuff. So stuff that you don't normally find in the mainstream stores. Death metal, black metal, hardcore, you name it. So there was a lot of twists and turns between what I was trying to feel out and what I wanted to show. If you've been watching my channel long enough, you probably realize that I'm quite a wide variety of taste. And that will become apparent as I show some more things. So, let's get on with it, show some of my albums, and let the fun continue. So this is my epilogue, and stuff from 1996. So I'm going to start with 2 that I was actually listening to in that year, 1996. And then maybe some other items that I returned to a little later, discovered, and then looking back that happened to have come out in 1996, and maybe some other things that I came across recently that you should know about. So, without further ado, see what we got.
I take my gun and I go, pew, 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 pew.
How do you follow up a release like Bloody Kisses? That was a huge album for Typo Negative, and it put them on the map. You know, if you weren't already knee-deep in the underground and into bands like Carnivore and the early stuff, starting out with Slow, Deep, and Hard and, and so forth, I think Bloody Kisses really snatched up more of the mainstream audience, and I think Roadrunner hit it out of the park with that. But that came out in 1994, not 1996. That would be October Rust. So this was a very highly anticipated album. And this was something that was on my radar. And I was looking to see if it was going to be a continuation of Bloody Kisses. And it kind of wasn't. There was a bit of a change in direction with the sound. It was still very Typo. It had their signature, you know, production, everything going on. There was the loss of Sal Oboscrato as the drummer who played on Bloody Kisses. So he got replaced by, I believe it was John Kelly. And although they used programmed drums on that album, he's still credited on there. I believe he did. He shows up in the music videos that they've done. So as I'm opening this, the damn case hinge just broke. Son of a bitch. Yep. So let me take it out of the sleeve here. So pretty neat. And Typo Negative's not a band that needs much of an introduction. So, you know, this is the crew, you know, out of the US, out of New York, I believe. Yeah. So, and they play in that vein of sort of that doomy, gothic, you know, that really hard. They even little bits of elements of hardcore, especially their older material, and they move more of the what you call a more accessible direction with their latest releases. So Bloody Kisses had quite a range of really hooky and catchy material. There was even a fucking Beatles cover on there, you know. So, but this right here, there is a cover on this one also. So October Rust, I mean, I think this one had probably, I would say, if you were to describe Typo Negative, their definitive song that really describes this band, as far as for someone new coming in, what they're like. A song like Love You to Death, check out the music video. You know, I'll probably leave a link for that too. Really good song. There was My Girlfriend's Girlfriend, and I think that was written like in a day. That was like and that became another one of their hits. Another one was Cinnamon Girl. Now, Cinnamon Girl is a Neil Young cover. Yeah, though you will never know it. It's quite different than the original. So funny enough, so although this came out in 1996, a song like Cinnamon Girl, so take 1996, take the 6 and a 9 and reverse them. You got 1969. And that's when Cinnamon Girl was first recorded. So very strange that they went with that song to cover. So just a little bit of the, you know. So they really went for that whole fall. So sorry for you folks in Australia or that part of the world. So fall was not land in October for you guys. So really, really cool. Being that this band tends to be very controversial, and they're quite shameless about it too. But they must be skirting on the edge with Roadrunner. It must really piss them off. I like to call them a bit of that sort of giggity goth, due to some of the adult-oriented material that they tend to go with. Come on, you know, if you know Peter Steele, you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about a dude who was on Playgirl. So that is Typo Negative, October Rust. So very definitive album. And I think the follow-ups are very good. It got a little darker with, you know, World Coming Down and whatnot. So Life is Killing Me. So they went, you know, but this one right here, I think they went a little less doomy and a little more emphasis on the keyboard. And even that song, My Girlfriend's Girlfriend, is a little psychedelic and whatnot. So, really cool. So that is October Rust. So this is another album that, how do you follow up a massively successful release like the previous one? So let's go to Seattle. So this band, the fuck? Sorry about that, folks. What I meant to say was Soundgarden, Down on the Upside. This album is following up Super Unknown, and that is considered one of the most defining, hugely, I guess, commercially successful also rock albums of the 90s. But I believe the Soundgarden crew wanted to expand on their sound, and while they did a lot with Super Unknown and explored certain areas, they might have disappointed some of their more hardcore fans who were with them from day one, just because they went on a more, let's just say, commercial direction. But this kind of the success that they needed for them to be on top of the world. A lead vocalist like Chris Cornell has such a powerful, just vocal approach and style that he was ready for that world stage. And Super Unknown was exactly what they needed for that. Now, by the time Down on the Upside came out, this is another album I was anticipating because I was so into Super Unknown. And I was a little disappointed because I thought I would be getting more of that meat and potatoes. And that wasn't the case. But over time, I've kind of started to appreciate what they did with this. And the fact that they went and did more of what they wanted to do. And I felt like the record label had a little more confidence in them to take a little more risks and maybe not be so meat and potatoes with their sound. So I've actually come to enjoy this album overall more than Super Unknown. And it is more of a grower than Super Unknown was. But 1996, there was all kinds of things going on. And Soundgarden had the talent to retain a lot of those fans regardless. They started out with Pretty Deuce, which I think was the first single, single. And it started out a little psychedelic here and there. Not too bad. Ty Cobb, Burden in My Hand. Fucking great song. Burden in My Hand is one of the ones that I can kind of play over and over. They mess with different tunings, different song structures, blow up the outside world. That was their that was one of their blow up the outside world is one of the more explosive hits. And just overall, definitely worth looking into if you decided not to expand more on Soundgarden and you're only listening to their older material. After this, the band pretty much went on a long hiatus. They since returned, and then disbanded again. And after they disbanded, there was the untimely, death of Chris Cornell, unfortunately. So we won't be getting another Soundgarden album again. But this is one of those bands that left a huge legacy. And as you all know, Chris Cornell went on to join the Rage Against the Machine guys and to the Audio Slave thing. And I got mixed feelings about that. But although they did have some good songs. But this right here, I thought it's a very good release, and this is one that I come to appreciate a little later. At the time when it came out, I wanted another Super Unknown, and it wasn't that. But I'm actually, now looking back, I'm glad they didn't go that direction. I think the Seattle rock thing was kind of, again, like I mentioned before, it was a bit on a downslope, and they needed to find ways to sort of stay a little more relevant. Even if they didn't know that they were going to not really do much for a few years once this dropped. So that is Soundgarden, Down on the Upside. Okay, so we went from New York to Seattle. Let's go south. So we're going to go to Louisiana and talk about a band that at the time it was not on my radar, believe it or not. So this is an album that I come to appreciate later on and discover through mutual friends and whatnot. So that would be Acid Bath, and that would be God damn it, not again. Sorry again, folks. It's like a cockroach. Just keeps coming back. What I meant to show was acid baths, pagan terrorism tactics. So you might have seen this, and this painting was following up another infamous painting. So this is their second album, and their first album, which came out in 1994, was When the Kite String Pops, and they had a one of the John Wayne Gacy paintings. So this character is Dr. Jack Kevorkian, and he was he was considered the Dr. Suicide of death. So if you're one of those kids who weren't around in the 90s, this was like a huge deal, and the assisted suicide thing was a new thing, and this doctor got into a heap of trouble for giving people who wanted it their wishes to end their lives. He only focused on those who were chronically ill and pretty much had no other recourse. He wanted to die with dignity, I guess you could say. So there was a lot of gray moral areas with that. So it depends how you feel about when that went on. But this is not the original cover concept. They actually were, you might even find it on Google. There's like a decapitated goat head. And done in like a negative form. And that was the original cover. I'm kind of glad they went with this. It's kind of weird and kooky, and this is the mind of a mad genius, I guess you could say. However you want to describe this doctor, but this is a fellow who kind of expanded and didn't care what people thought. But so acid bath, when you think of Louisiana sludge, which is how this band is described, you're thinking of I Hate God, Goat Whore, Crowbar, and Soylent Green. But these guys were not as... They were a little more... there was more dimension to their sound. And they were treading that line of death rock and sludge. But what's really interesting about Acid Bath is that there is not one boring moment on any of their albums between the debut and this one here. And there's quite a bit of variety. There's even elements of a little bit of gothic elements in their sound, a little bit of grunge. There's just so much interesting thing happening. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. So if you're trying to get somebody into more extreme music, but maybe you don't want to throw typo negative in their face or something a little more hard-hitting, this is quite hard-hitting too, but, Acid Bath are a different animal. There's no band that sounds quite like them. They were very short-lived. So after this album, they pretty much called it quits in 1997. That was because the bassist, if you don't know the story, was killed by a drunk driver. And I think his name is a little hard to say. It's Audi Petre. And him and a few people were involved in that accident and were killed. And the band pretty much disbanded after this. So really good swan song of an album. Even though there was only 2 full lengths, there's quite a bit of demo material out there too that if you want to listen to some more Acid Bath. But this is another one that very, very important release for the 90s and influenced a lot of other bands to see what was possible to explore with various different sounds, and that sludge did not have to sound a certain way. These guys just didn't care. I mean, Dax Riggs is an excellent vocalist. I mean, he shows a lot of variety also in his approach. So definitely not a one-note guy. The band has since moved on to other projects and done some other stuff over the years. But Pagan Terrorism Tactics, in my mind, is just as good as the debut. You might have a particular favorite between this or When the Kite String Pops, but you can't go wrong with either one. So, excellent album. And if this is not normally your thing when it comes to the description Louisiana sludge, still check this out anyway, because there's a lot more to it than just death rock and sludge. There's other things happening with their sound. So there's not much more I can say. So just a great album, and definitely encourage you to check it out for you, because you're really missing out. So let's go over to Sweden. So in 1996, I was not listening to a lot of Swedish material. So I mentioned Napster in the beginning of this video. That's when all that massive MP3 downloading opened up a whole new world for me. And I was able to get into bands like Catatonia with Brave Murder Day. And hold on a second. I'm going to take care of this problem once and for all. That should do it. Fix that problem once and for all. As I was saying, Catatonia, Brave Murder Day. And this album is probably the last thing they put out. They did put out an EP called Sounds of Decay. Michael Ackerfeld was on vocals. And when it came to harsh vocals. So after this full length, they would release Discouraged Ones. And that's when they went in a whole different direction. And they changed the sound to something more ethereal, more depressing in another sort of way. They even went more towards that really emotive direction. And again, with the clean vocals, Jonas took over vocal duties full time. With Brave Murder Day, it's still one of my favorite albums that they put out. It's just amazing all throughout. So, Brave, Murder, and Day are actually their own tracks, as you can see here. So if you're not already into Catatonia, and you've been listening to metal for quite a long time, you're probably not going to be into them at this point, and especially with their newer stuff. If you're looking for something a little more extreme, their sound changed quite a bit. I mean, some of you may enjoy their new stuff. I'm not saying anything, there's anything wrong with it. It's just that they come quite a long ways with the way they sort of, transformed how the releases are and how it would change with the way it sounded release to release. This is a true damn classic when it comes to that whole, the Peaceville bunch. So, I think that when it comes to bands like this, that Peaceville is putting out, these are one of those kind of bands where you could say, so-and-so band sounds like this. So you could say, that particular band sounds like My Dying Bride. That particular band sounds like Catatonia. Because, again, they have their own vibe and stuff going. Even though they all had a sort of signature kind of identity that's sort of defined the decade. So, Brave and Murder are very similar. They move in that sort of galloping style. That bass has sort of very constant, picking. Day, very brooding and depressing. It kind of reminds me of Saw You Drown. And Rain Room 12 and Time. This has bonus tracks. Nowhere at Last, Inside the Fall. I don't know if that was on the original release. So this is the 2006 reissue. But great album, and I'm glad to have come across Catatonia. This is one of those bands I fell in love with right away. I did start off with their more later material, so that will have been Last Fair Deal Gone Down, and then I returned to Discouraged Ones, and so forth. Then I went back to their earlier catalog. But this one right here is one that I do go back to regularly, even to this day. So, like some kind of dead bird or something. Something about birds in their covers that they like to do. But, it's their thing. So that's Catatonia. Okay, so I've been showing mostly stuff from the US, and we just hopped off of Catatonia over at Sweden. So let's go over to France. And this release right here is one that I've come across last year, and it came out in 1996, and it's relatively obscure, actually. So this is something that I think would not have come across any of your radars. I don't know how knee deep in death metal you were back in 1996. If you were one of those really, truly old school guys, and you were following the French scene. When it came to what was going on in death metal in France, I mean, you had, bands like Loud Blast, and even they, by 1996, were already past their peak in heyday. That the thriving early golden 90s was for death metal. So this is a release that I got through Transcending Records, which are actually based in the US, funny enough. And I thought it was really cool that they took something like this and managed to reissue it. So this band is sort of Viking-themed death metal. Yeah, out of France, believe it or not. So, can't just let Unleashed hold that spot. So, as far as I know, this was their only release. They did follow up with one more EP, and they pretty much disbanded after that. So that is Asgard. So with a name like Asgard, it's pretty much a dead giveaway. To a golden age. This is not the original cover, but although the original cover is very similar, and I believe it's set to like a negative effect. But no matter. So being obscure as it is, it's not one of those deals. It's not like that Satyricon reissues where you kind of yearn for those original covers and it's kind of known within the scene. This is something that's quite obscure enough and not everybody has. You're not going to miss the original cover. So enough about the cover. This band, I want to say, fucking kicks ass. It's it has some thrashing underpinnings, moments of atmosphere, and very tastefully paced out and spaced out. So if I were to describe their sound, it's kind of strange because I don't hear a whole lot of like super Viking apparent stuff in this, but there are some thrashy elements also. If you like bands like, if you want to probably name some French bands like Massacre, Aggressor, I do hear a little bit of that kind of stuff going on here. Actually, quite a bit. Now take that soup and apply a little bit of the Floridian sound along with that. And I think that you'll get some Asgard in here. Quite a good number of riffs. And this is something that I can put on over and over. I don't get tired of it. I like this quite a bit, actually. And this is something that is still relatively available now, thanks to Transcending records. And hit up their store. Or, hit up YouTube first, check this out. But definitely worth a buy. And I don't know if the original CD is one of those high-priced items on Discogs nowadays, but I wouldn't even bother. Just get this. It's good enough. So, Asgard. So I think the last one I'm going to show today for 1996 is going to be Marduk. So that is Heaven Shall Burn When We Are Gathered. And this particular album that dropped in 1996 is... oh no. Okay, all gags aside. So this is the end of the companion epilogue video. Part of the trifecta of me, Jake, and Brian. So again, check out their videos. I'll leave the link. I wanted to thank everybody who hopped on that stream. So that would be Marty Worm, Alan from Let's Talk Metal, Dennis from Analog Archives. Make sure you're subscribed. It's a crime he's not up to 1,000 subscribers right now. This dude has got some pretty killer stories. Some funny ones too. He could do a channel just on stories, and I think that would probably get people tuning in regularly too. So we had Justin from Vesteban's Blood Box, and thank you for hopping on, Justin. Don't be a stranger. Stefan Goldberg managed to bring up some banger albums from 1993. So Devon from Maze of Torment did show some good stuff. I want to say. So he's another one that needs to come on more often. So can't forget about Necrotic Nick from the Thralls of Metal channel. They're very cool. He's been joining our streams regularly on the weekends, and his crew coming over to watch us and watch us do some stupid shit. But it is what it is. We try to make this entertaining, any way we can, and give you guys a little more insight to kind of expand. So if you have any more ideas what you want to see for the streams on Saturday night, just let us know. Leave a comment. So Geoff at Metal Madness 66, he's part of our core Saturday crew. He's been the guy sort of leading this rotation of getting people to move along and stuff. I've been too busy doing the hosting shit on the side. So his friend, Serge, who's also been quite a regular lately in our streams. So thank you for hopping on, Serge. He's the dude that doesn't show much of the metal, but we're an open-minded channel and community, and metal was not a requirement. But hey, there's a lot of killer releases that's not metal, so it doesn't even matter. We also had his other friend, John, from the metal podcast, the Metalhead podcast, and quite knowledgeable guy. And this was his first time hopping on our stream, and really happy to have gotten to see what he had to talk about and bring up. So thank you for coming on, John. We also had CJ Yacoub, and he's in the middle of moving, and so he wasn't able to really come in with a lot of physical stuff to show, but he's a musician, he knows a lot about music, and he had some really good examples to show when it came to that. And besides Jake and Brian, who else did I miss that I believe came on? No, I think that's most of the participants. So let us know what you want to say. So hopefully we can keep this going. I can't promise they're all going to be amazing. We might just still continue doing some bullshit streams in between here and there. So we'll see how it goes. So keep it dreadful.